the photographer was like, I completely forgot that happened, sort of thing.
I'm not gonna lie, so did I.
Yeah, you did too. And you edited it.
I'll mail you a DVD.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to an episode of the Gimbal Guys podcast. I'm your host, Sam, along with my co-host, Nick. We're wedding videographers based out of the New England area, and we're here to share some insights for couples, vendors, basically share our thoughts about the wedding industry. And today we're talking to our vendor crowd and kind of like, not our vendor crowd, sorry. Completely wrong. We're talking to our couple crowd and kind of like things to look for when booking a videographer specifically. Some valuable insights, tips, criteria, questions to ask them, that sort of thing. So if you're kind of like just starting out your planning process, this is a little bit of a deep dive into things you should be looking for. So I guess we'll start out for kind of like the first thing you should do, right? Which is you need to create kind of like the criteria that you're searching for in a videographer, right? So a few of those things, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong with some of them, or if you think of other criteria that you should add. But first things first is location, obviously. So like, where is your wedding taking place? You can look based around that location, or you could find somebody if you're doing a destination.
I was going to say, in reality, location is not the biggest priority in my opinion, because people can always fly in.
I think the reason why I put it first is it's a good place to start. If your wedding's in Boston.
You might as well start looking local.
Yeah. Google Boston wedding videographers and boom, you have a bunch of suggestions. Or if you're looking on, the Knot or Wedding Wire or something like that, it asks you to filter by location. And then obviously if some of them have like, maybe you can look for, if you're having a destination wedding, you can look for people in your local area and see if they offer destination weddings. If it's like a source you trust, if you're like having a destination wedding in Mexico, but you don't really know the Mexico wedding videographer market, it's nice to kind of like look around where you live locally and then see if they're kind of like willing to travel to Mexico, sort of thing. Obviously, you're going to be paying more for those sorts of things. So hiring locally is a little bit more, I guess, budget friendly. Which I guess, obviously,
budget.
Yeah. Another major criteria is price point and budget. I mean, we've mentioned before, you shouldn't shop solely based on that, because then, you might be leaving out some really good options who are going to deliver you good end results.
But be financially smart, set like a hard cap for yourself. Like, we physically cannot do any more than this. And like ideally like a little lower than that's the ideal range.
Yeah. Which if you heard the horror story in one of our previous episodes, definitely don't pay more than you can afford. So yeah, budget's something to include. The other huge factor is the style of the videographer. And there's a bunch of kind of like sub criteria underneath style.
Style's hard to like search for, but yeah.
Yeah, it's very kind of like dependent on what you find you gravitate towards. So I guess within style, the things that kind of like make up that category is, one, there's kind of like the argument of cinematic highlight film versus documentary videographers. Some people will throw around the term of documentary as just the style in which they shoot, like handheld run and gun thing. But my perspective of a documentary wedding videographer is the only thing they're doing is they're just capturing like the formalities as they're happening. And they're not really formulating it into a highlight film or story. They're just kind of going chronologically through the day, ceremony, speeches, dances, that sort of thing. Like there's not really, with like true documentary, I feel like there's not really much like
there's no directing.
There's no directing, anything like that.
It's literally just capturing what's in front of you.
Yeah.
Whereas we still direct a little.
Yeah. Which I don't even know, like my parents' wedding video is documentary. Some guy, granted they paid like what, $500 for their wedding, like however many years ago. And some guy stood in the corner with a tripod, one camera wide, and just filmed that. And that's their wedding video. So I don't know how common that is anymore, but it's certainly like a style that some people are looking for. They're just like, hey, we just want it captured in full, and we just want, they'll say they want the raw footage, quote. And I guess that's kind of like a draw towards content creators. Some content creators fall under this documentary category now, I think. Just kind of like shoot the thing as it's happening. There's no B-roll, there's no poses, there's nothing. Mm-hmm. So make that distinction of what kind of thing you're looking for. That will help your search. And then if you're kind of like looking more for the highlight film cinematic style, I mean, look at how color is being treated in those films. Is it, warm tones primarily? Is it light and airy, dark and moody, true to color, a little bit more cinematic, filmic? There's a bunch of different kind of like color things you can
which the everyday person, like, you're not going to understand and know as well as us. But in layman's terms, literally just make sure visually to your eyes it looks good to you.
Does this look good? Yeah. That's the question to ask yourself. The other thing is kind of like how they structure their highlight films. So their editing style and their pacing.
Yeah, it could just be like a montage.
Yeah. Is it just a slow moving montage, very slow? Or is it, high energy, impact, lots of transitions, flares, things like that happening? What do you prefer? Like when you watch those films, what do you connect with? Then kind of like shooting style. So are they like us? Are they on gimbals most of the day where it's a lot of motion control?
Smooth movements,
tripods, things like that. Or are they run and gun handheld, something that feels a little bit more energetic? Maybe it feels a little bit more authentic, that sort of thing. And then I guess like, how do they use audio in their edits? Are they recording vows?
Are they using audio at all?
Are they using audio at all, or is it just music?
Just a song, yeah.
I think I'm going to go out on a ledge here and say any good videographer is using some form of vow audio or audio from the ceremony speeches and turning that into a story in their highlight film. I think I wouldn't hire anybody who just makes a montage of the day. That's not, in my opinion, it's not worth it.
I agree.
And speaking of audio, what kind of music do they tend to gravitate towards? Again, is it a little bit more like slower paced, elegant, emotional? Do they do more kind of like folk songs, guitar, acoustic type thing?
Or see if they let you choose. Like that, if you have songs in mind that you want, like some videographers let you choose, some don't, but that's just another option to look for.
Yeah. And then I would say this is kind of like the last point in style is how they brand themselves and how they kind of like carry themselves. I mean, in your search, it's just going to be kind of like their online branding, how their brand appearance kind of like feels to you is kind of part of their style. Maybe like how their website looks, how their Instagram looks, feels, how they talk about themselves. I feel like that kind of goes into just the overall style, right?
Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, their personalities bleed into their style for sure.
Is there anything else that you would say, like, I guess gets encompassed under style, or is that kind of, I mean, those are all kind
style.
of
No,
things.
I feel like that. Yeah, that's the basics of style.
Yeah. The overall of style in your search criteria is how the videographer feels to you. Like, do you feel connected with what they produce, and can you see yourself in those films? That's the question I ask couples. Is like, can you see yourself in a film like ours, sort of thing? Because if they can't, then they're probably not the right fit. Mm-hmm. So we got location, style, budget, and then just kind of like the deliverables and the physical things that they're offering in their packages. So do they only offer like set packages? Do they have full custom things where it's kind of like, hey, we'll fine tune it to exactly what you need? Or is it like semi-custom, which we're semi-custom? We have 2 base packages, and then it's kind of like you can
add-ons.
You can add on to that.
Drone is a big thing for people. It's like, do they even offer drone? We do.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, and then it's like highlight film. Is it a 3 to 5 minute highlight film? Is it a 6 minute highlight film? 7, 8, 9 minutes? Is it a 15 minute kind of like thing? Is it dragged out that long?
Whatever length of video you're looking for, like every videographer out there is different. So like we're going to have a lot of options.
Yeah. Hours of coverage. is huge.
Yep.
It's kind of like how long is your wedding timeline and kind of like what moments would be in that timeline, which I'll go into that in a second.
Solo shooters versus two shooters. Like, and again, from the couple's perspective, they initially probably don't understand how much this makes a difference. But when you really stop and think about it, super simple terms here. It's like simple. With one person, they can only be shooting one thing at a time.
Yeah.
If they have a second person with them, they can shoot simultaneously. So let's say you and your fiance are splitting up to get ready. Then it's like, oh, if there's a second person, they can shoot both of us getting ready at the same time. That's just one example. But like with two people, you can cover so much more ground.
I'm going to make a little bit of a tangent / analogy to this. So I had a commercial client a few years back who I was on an agreement with them, and I was shooting with pretty much two people at every one of these shoots. And then when I went to renew the agreement, the pricing didn't change, but it was just going to be kind of like one videographer covering those deliverables. And so they were thrown off by the fact that the price didn't go down by removing a videographer. And so my argument to them in that instance was that like this job that's being done can be done by one person. And if we need two people for a certain shoot, a certain scenario, like we will make the switch to do that, but it's the end value that you're getting. And so I think there's merit to both discussions. So for weddings specifically, I personally think it is important to have two videographers. And I think it's a decision-making factor. If you're a couple, it's essentially an insurance policy. Kind of like if one videographer can't get a certain shot, the other one probably will be able to get it. And they have that split up capability. Anything with like live events, if you're offering multiple videographers, that is a value add, and you will pay kind of like a premium for that. And solo shooters, you know, unless they're like super, super experienced and they have a defined style and they're, you know, they've been in the industry for years and they have a track record of success, like that's when you can trust solo shooters. I mean, I'm not saying you can't trust solo shooters, but I can see why the argument can be made that a second videographer doesn't matter that much, is what I'm saying.
Okay.
Because I was in a scenario where I knew that the job that was being delivered could be handled by one person completely, and that it wasn't impacting the final deliverable of that client. But I could also see from their perspective why they feel like they were getting gypped by not having two people on site. But I think for weddings and live events specifically, having at least two videographers is super important.
Oh yeah, we always say, you know, it can be done with one person, but it can be done better with two.
Yeah. So hours of coverage, drone, highlight film, what length do you want, amount of videographers, and then also are you getting kind of like edits of your formalities? Are you getting a ceremony edit? Are you getting a speeches edit? What about first dance, first look, parent dances, cake cutting if you really care about having that in full? I don't know. Like what other items are kind of like in their packages, so to speak?
Maybe if they offer like a little teaser type of thing, like
yes,
do you get any sort of sneak peek type of thing?
Yeah. Do you want to give all your friends who weren't invited FOMO with your social media teaser? That sort of thing. So it's kind of like, think about which of those pieces are most important to you. Maybe you literally only want a highlight film, and maybe you only need to look at somebody who's a kind of like fully custom, or somebody has a set package of only a highlight film with a certain amount of hours of coverage. Like think about your timeline, think about the things that are important to you, and like what actual items you need from a videography package. And then I guess that kind of like leads into like, all right, which parts of the day are most important to you? Do you care about getting ready? I mean, for us, people who have asked us like, hey, we don't need getting ready, it's actually not a good fit for our shooting style because, you know, we kind of offer high quality audio in our packages. That's one of our items essentially. And we need to mic people up during the getting ready process. It's also crucial for our shooting style to get our bearings on the day, sort of thing. So if you're not somebody who cares about getting ready as much, then it's like videographers like us might not be the right fit for you, sort of thing.
If we care about getting ready.
Yeah, we care about all those little moments in between. And it's kind of like some people are like, oh, can you do 6 hours of coverage? And I mean, our base package, we say up to 8 hours. Because
technically we can, but
yeah, it's kind of like if that timeline permits 6 or 7 hours or whatever, but this is kind of like the base of what we offer. And
in order to get our final product that, we know we can deliver, we need that length of time to be able to capture everything we need.
Because what we could do, we could physically do a fully custom approach of like, hey, we literally only need you to capture the formalities and deliver that sort of thing. But we only take a handful of weddings a year. And so we want each of those weddings to fit a specific criteria for us. So we have our services structured in a way where our base package is very inclusive. And it's like, if you don't need all of those things, then we're probably not the right fit. Then you probably would go for somebody who does fully custom quotes, maybe only does some of those kind of like shorter days, that sort of thing. So you have to think about which parts of the days are important to you, because that also translates into, what edits you're receiving. If you're like really, if you're really sold on like the best man speech or your private vows or something like that, you're going to want to look for videographers who have shown to incorporate those vows in their highlight films, or they deliver full speeches, sort of thing. So you can look back at the full speech later on. So that's a huge criteria.
Yeah.
Talked about budget. And I would say kind of like the last like big thing of criteria, unless you have things to add, is proof of success with past clients. So this is their portfolio and most importantly, their reviews.
Their reviews, yeah.
And I would say that kind of like rounds out like the criteria you should be narrowing down your search by. Did I miss anything? Is there anything kind of like that you would use to kind of like filter your results essentially?
I mean, you can't do this in like very, very initial phase, but once you start like talking to these potential suitors and like get on calls with them, it's really like a personality match is huge, because you're going to be spending your entire day with us. Like we are going to be following you around all day. So if you don't like us, that's not going to be a fun day for you. So you need to make sure that your personality matches with all of your vendors, because they'll be with you all day. Photographer and videographers specifically, they spend the most time with you.
Yeah, definitely a personality match. I think I kind of like looped that into style, but I guess it's a little separate than that. But yeah, so you have your search criteria. Now, once you kind of like narrow down like the videographers you'd want to pursue, it's time to, I mean, if they're legit, they're going to want to get on a call with you. So now it's kind of like, all right, what do I ask them once I'm on the call with them? So I wanted to kind of like give a little bit of at least a starting point, a list of questions you can ask them, and that would yield that's your way of vetting them essentially. So just from kind of like our frequently asked questions, like what people ask us the most is they ask us about drone. I mean, we make it very clear on our website that we offer drone.
Yeah, honestly, just do your own research first. Go on these people's websites.
Yeah.
A lot of your answers or a lot of your questions should be answered.
Yeah. So like a lot of the frequently asked questions will be about drone. You could ask them their process for, if they don't like talk about, okay, like what happens with poor weather? Like, do you still fly in poor weather? The answer should be no, because I mean, legally you're not supposed to. A responsible
drone pilot should say no.
A responsible drone pilot won't fly in the rain, the snow, crazy heavy winds. They also won't fly in areas where they're not allowed to fly, national parks, too close to an airport, certain things like that. So they need to know the airspace. And they also need to be okay, like the venue needs to be okay with drone flights there. So, I mean, that's also kind of you on the couple to make sure your venue is okay with it. But you also need to make sure that the videographer can probably supply some form of documentation if the venue asks for it. So drone, it's like, all right, maybe this videographer is based relatively in the region. Like we're in the New England region, which is a bunch of states. It's not just like, we're not just Massachusetts, just New Hampshire, that sort of thing. So it's important to kind of ask them about their travel
fees.
protocols or travel fees. I mean, an answer for us is anything in the New England area is like there's no additional travel fee unless you have a 2-day wedding sort of thing, which we have like a 2-day wedding add-on, and that kind of like covers hotel, lodging sort of thing. But it's like you don't have to pay us per mile that we drive sort of thing in the New England area.
Which isn't super common, I don't think. Like we kind of did that on purpose to separate ourselves because it's not something.
It's like what you see is what you get.
Yeah, it's not something we super care about. I know a lot of people do track the mileage and tack that on. It's like I couldn't be bothered.
Yeah, we write off our miles on our taxes. And it's beneficial to us to drive further, actually.
It's simpler for the couple to just be like, yeah, what you see is what you get.
Yeah.
No hidden fees.
The only times where travel things come into play for us is if it's a destination wedding. And we quote destination weddings
way
custom
different,
because it's based on the destination. And I mean, some vendors, then you can ask them if it's a destination wedding, like how do you book travel? So what we do, we book our own travel. We want the travel in our control.
Yes.
We don't want the couple to book for us because one, that's just kind of like another thing they have to worry about. But it's also kind of like we want the tickets in our hands. We want to make sure the names are correct.
Less of a chance of the names getting mixed up.
Yeah. Did we talk about that on this podcast? I think we did.
I think so. Yeah. A few episodes ago.
Yeah. So we want to make sure we have control over that. Hotel, like we'll ask them if they have a block set aside, if they have enough room beyond their guest count, because then we could just get a discounted rate on the hotel. It's like they're not booking the hotel for us, again, because we want our names on it and making sure we can kind of control that piece of it. But again, it all kind of just gets looped into one package for them, so we're not like totally itemizing it for them. Just so they don't have to worry about those things. They don't have to like nitpick those things. So yeah, ask them about how they do travel. Maybe some of them will have you book travel if they'd rather have you do that, and then that's fine. If you'd rather be the one booking travel, you want to put them on Spirit or whatever, then maybe look for.
I heard Spirit's not even a thing anymore. I thought Brandon told me it's like going out of business or something. But anyway,
I think Spirit's fine. Southwest is seeing a decline.
No, Spirit is horrible. What are you talking about?
Spirit has. There's been a bunch of other airlines.
I will never fly Spirit.
Oh, I won't. Yeah, but they don't have as many accidents as the other airlines that have been reported recently, I think.
There's planes falling out of the sky every day now.
I think I foresee Southwest like literally falling apart because did you hear they what's it called? So they're going to make you pay to check bags now. That was their huge thing is if you fly Southwest, like basically your checked bag, you have a free checked bag, which every other airline makes you pay to check a bag pretty much, unless you like book a certain package. Free checked bags, free carry-on, free personal item sort of things. And I think you could have 2 free checked bags with Southwest previously. And their other thing was their open seating thing, which some people liked. I didn't like it, but it was a differentiator for them because they were technically a budget airline. Not as budget as like Spirit or Frontier or something like that. But now now you have to pay to check a bag and the seat is assigned. So they have nothing now that sets them apart from other airlines.
I would never fly Southwest anyway, but that's a tangent for another time.
They're not too bad. Now they're on, so they didn't used to appear on Google Flights. Like if you search for a flight, it was kind of like just American, United, Delta, JetBlue.
JetBlue is my
Alaska.
choice if I had one.
JetBlue, Delta are like, you can get more status with them as well.
Anyway.
You can get anyway, travel, ask them about travel. A lot of people ask us like how we choose music, where we get it from, that sort of thing.
That's a huge one.
It's kind of like, our current process is, we license our music legally. If videographers are pulling kind of like popular songs, like I'd be a little sketched out about that because technically that's illegal unless you're paying to license that.
Yeah, I forget that one service that does have the popular ones. I forget what it's called. So
you can get licked.
Licked, okay, yeah.
But you can't license like all the popular. It's all the
it has
popular
more
music
popular
is
songs than most, but yeah, you can't get them all.
It's and that's like per use case too. It's like you can't just license unlimited popular songs.
Plus, I personally wouldn't want to do that. I want to use songs that I
I mean, our service, Music Bed, we can submit an inquiry to license like an actual popular song. Granted, we'll be paying full price for that. There's no like premium. And I mean, even if you're like licensing a popular song for your wedding film, which is for personal use, if you're only using it for personal things, you're not even sharing it on social media, you still have to pay for it technically, which is crazy. But yeah, figure out what their music process is, how they license it, make sure they're doing it legit. And then also people ask us about our turnaround time, which just make sure the turnaround time is clear and they have a process for it. You know, they may take 6 months because they take more time to craft their story and they want to, you know, make sure it maintains that level of quality, or they might have a higher value of like, hey, we turn things around really quickly so you can have your wedding film like in the next couple of weeks.
Right. Yeah. I don't think turnaround time matters all that much. It's just making sure it's clear and that everyone knows how it's working.
I heard an argument recently that a longer turnaround time should be viewed as better. That was the argument. The longer turnaround time should be viewed as better.
I think I would agree.
Like, obviously, you take more time to craft that piece of art in such a way that it's like it leaves a better impact. But the other thing is, it's actually more valuable to get your wedding video longer after your wedding has taken place, because you get more of the effect of the actual reliving of the day the first time you watch the film. So if you get your wedding film 3 to 4 weeks after your wedding day,
it's still naturally fresh in your mind.
Exactly. But if you get it 6 months later, you might be like, oh my God, I forgot about XYZ. Like we had a clip we just posted recently. The
cake.
Yeah. the officiant's
clipboard binder.
He did a joke where it was cake. The photographer, granted this wasn't the couple, I'm sure the couple probably thought a similar thing, but the photographer was like, I completely forgot that happened, sort of thing.
I'm not gonna lie, so did I.
Yeah, you did too, and you edited it.
It was a long time ago.
Yeah, but like that's just a testament to kind of like how these things could be like relived if you get them back and see it for the first time, like longer after the wedding took place. Mm-hmm. But that's a tangent on turnaround time. So whatever's more important to you, if you'd rather have it sooner, cool. If turnaround time is super important to you, then honestly just look into a content creator, because you'll get all of the raw iPhone videos, photos
24,
the next day.
48 hours.
Yeah. So like if you want everything right then and there, then content creation is probably your choice there. That's kind of like all of the general, like frequently asked questions.
Yeah.
Just
I
kind
can't
of
think of any
surface
other
level stuff.
General question that we get asked a lot.
Something important that is more call specific is for them to kind of ask them to describe their wedding day process. And maybe you want them to kind of like overview the full booking process and everything in depth, but try to get them to talk you through a typical day. I mean, it's something we do on our calls, is kind of like, hey, we show up, our process is we split up if we need to when we're getting ready, then we come back together.
We go through our entire day.
Yeah.
So like they know exactly what they should expect us to be doing. And
I bet we go into like...
We go like in more depth than we need to, but it's
probably
fine.
More than they care about.
Exactly.
But that's good.
They definitely don't give a shit about some things, but it's fine. Like
we talk them through where we put our cameras during the ceremony to just give them that reassurance.
Especially in the moment, like in the discovery call or like early phase, like they don't give a shit about this at this moment in time.
Yeah.
But it's still good to just go over it with them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So definitely ask them to kind of like walk you through that day. If they're kind of like on the call, if you ask them this question and they're kind of like, oh, I just kind of like go with the
if
flow.
they don't have a clear process,
that's
that's bad.
Yeah. So ask them about their process. Specifically, you can also ask them about like audio capture, if that's something that's important to you.
How do you do it? Yada, yada. Yeah.
I mean, at least it's important to me because we made the switch recently to not wireless stuff. And we kind of almost use it as a selling point that we're trying not to interfere with the DJ and the sound system on the day of. So it gives you more of a like live in the moment thing. You don't have to worry about something skipping out type deal because we made that switch from wireless.
Even though your DJ's board's going to skip out anyway.
Yeah. topic for another day. You might want to also ask them if it's not clear on their website how they can kind of like customize their videography package or collection. I mean, for us, like we walk them through both of our packages in depth, what each of the items is, and then it's kind of like what the add-ons are. And I mean, some people will ask us kind of like, hey, we only need 6 hours. We don't need getting ready sort of thing. And for that, we just tell them like, hey, we're probably not the right fit in that case because we set the minimum at this bar so we can deliver this level of quality. But yeah, like definitely ask them if you need certain things customized. If their standard packages don't really fit what you're looking for, but their style is great, maybe you want to ask them about like, hey, how can I customize certain things? Obviously, we talked about kind of like number of shooters. Do you work with multiple people or are you solo shooter? And then based on that too, kind of like, all right, who will be present on my wedding day? And if it's a studio, they might not know who the lead videographer will be on that wedding day. But for our perspective, it's kind of like, as of right now, in our stage of business, at least one of us will be there. Most of the time, it's both of us. If for some reason one of us can't be there for a certain date, like there's a wedding day I can't be at this year. There was one last year. So like Nick will capture that with one of our other trusted videographer sources, and we have people in our network that we can lean on. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of like, what's their process if like one of the shooters can't make it for the day? Definitely ask them about that. Or if both can't, that sort of thing. Cancellation, that whole deal is important too. Kind of like, all right, what's your policy if, some freak weather thing happens and if there's a hurricane coming and we have to cancel the wedding day? You could ask them about like payment things too. Kind of like, hey, what if we have to move our wedding day? Do we lose our first payment? That sort of thing. Typically, the answer you're going to get with that is the first payment is a non-refundable retainer because that reserves the wedding date. So usually you're not going to get that back for pretty much any vendor if you need to cancel your day or move it. But sometimes if you're just rescheduling and they have the availability, they'll apply that payment towards kind of like the future reschedule if it's like far enough in advance. So kind of ask them about those logistics as well.
When that other payment is due, we get that question a lot too.
Yeah.
Like when the final payment is due.
Mm-hmm. Another important thing is kind of like, how do you, what's your footage backup process? Kind of like, how do you...
yeah, we get that occasionally.
It's kind of like, how do you handle where you store the wedding stuff? And then how is it like delivered to us? Is it delivered to us digitally, on a USB, some combination, something else? Don't trust a videographer who like, if there's anybody who still does this, like burns it on a DVD. I would just not hire that person. I'll mail
you a DVD.
Yeah. Do you even have a way to play the DVD? I don't think so. VHS.
No, it's funny. My brother just got a record player and it had a CD player and a cassette tape thing. I was like, who has cassette tapes anymore?
I mean, that device is kind of like, hey, any retro like media player thing, it's like this handles it. Mm-hmm. Like
yeah, all-in-one.
Yeah, that's good. I guess another thing too is kind of ask them how they work with other vendors on the day.
I was going to say that, especially the photographer. Again,
yeah,
relationships with the photographer, personalities,
yeah,
matters.
They're like, how do you interact with the photographer? Like, do you guys fight, sort of thing? People have asked us how we work with photographers before. That's an important question.
It is.
You want to make sure they're not talking bad about any of the other vendors, sort of thing. Let's see. Yeah, how do you deliver it? How do you back up stuff? I mean, I think those are the main questions you should be asking.
Yeah.
And then any other just kind of questions that are important to you, maybe personality match questions. You could ask them how they started, how long they've been in the industry, their experience, sort of thing, if you want.
Those are some basic questions that I'm sure you'll ask, but like in the grand scheme of things, don't matter nearly as much as these other questions.
Yeah. And if there's any other questions that pertain to your criteria that maybe weren't clear on the website in your search and you want to ask them about that, and that's kind of like the decision-making factor, definitely ask them those questions as well. Anything else you can think of that you should be asking your videographer?
I don't think so. I feel like that did cover it all.
Yeah. just make sure you're vetting your people. I mean, that's the goal. Personality match is huge too. You'll probably be able to tell within the first 5 minutes of the call if you vibe with these people or not.
I mean, yeah, we do. Like in my mental, every single time we're on a call, mentally, I know I vibe with them like within minutes. It's like, yep, I could totally see us filming these people.
Or we're secretly judging you.
Yeah. Like honestly, normally, honestly, on the call, I'll like text you live like, oh yeah, I like these people. I will normally say something like that.
Yeah. It's important to make sure. I mean, we're doing the same thing. Like as much as the couple is vetting us, we're also vetting them to make sure we're actually a good fit and like what they're expecting we can actually deliver for them. Mm-hmm. That's huge. Goes both ways. Yeah. Hopefully that was valuable to everybody. Think of other things. If you're a videographer and you think of other things couples should ask, feel free to leave those in the comments section below where couples can look to see those. Maybe there's some other resources that might be helpful for them. But if you did enjoy this episode, make sure you leave a like on YouTube and a 5-star review of our podcast on Spotify. Make sure you follow along wherever you get your podcasts. Follow us on Instagram at SeaMount Weddings. And if you're looking to book a wedding for yourself and hop on a discovery call with us so you can be judged, head over to SeaMountWeddings.com and we'd be happy to chat. All right, that does it. See you guys in the next one.
See you in the next one.